Welcome to the Town Council meeting for June 12, 2018. We'll open the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Take a moment of silence to reflect on our duties here and remember our veterans home and away and our first responders. Thank you. In accordance with the Mass General laws, we are recording the meeting. Is anyone else recording the meeting? Public comments? We don't have any. Council comments? All right, none either. Town manager report.
I put this mint in my mouth before the meeting, but
Put it in a caramel.
there you go.
Good taffy.
Good evening, everyone. It's hard to believe that we're nearing the end of the fiscal year already. It's quite a busy time, closing out the current year and beginning implementation of next year's budget. Our town attorney, Jim Donahue, has decided to end his service to the town effective June 30th, 2018. We wish Jim many years of health and happiness as he finds ways to enjoy his retirement. He said that was one of his concerns, was that he needed a plan because he wanted to make sure he made every minute count. So it was a nice conversation. And we thank him for his years of dedicated service to East Long Meadow. Jim will be providing me with documentation of outstanding legal matters he has that I will move to Attorney Kevin Maynard of Buckley, Richardson, and Gelinas. I've been using Attorney Maynard for our labor matters since June of last year, and I've attached a copy of his information, his bio, and his firm's, just an overview of his firm. If the council would like to meet him, I can arrange that at a future meeting when it's not 2 pages long. You know, this was not the time, but certainly whatever your pleasure is. Public safety, the town's emergency management team will be having a tabletop exercise it's called the Hampden County Shelter Exercise tomorrow. Carolyn is here. She's a key part of that because part of the shelter is here, and she was very active. You all know I wasn't here. I was in my own shelter at the time, but very active in the 2011 storm. So I participated in quite a few of these, and they are very helpful in knowing you put your plan in writing, you might talk about it, but when they throw scenarios at you like, okay, that bridge that you were going to take was just knocked out, so find another way to, you have to really think on your feet. Now, sheltering is a whole different kind of scenarios, but it will sort of ferret out a lot of the things. I've included a copy of just the highlights of that as well. Our new ladder truck is at the fire station. Stop by and see it. I haven't seen it.
I have.
It wasn't there yesterday, so
Yeah.
It went back.
Yeah.
yeah, for a couple of things.
Yeah, some minor
So
stuff.
give it a couple more days.
Yes.
It's
I'm
pretty-
sure.
pretty
Actually,
nice.
the police chief said that the fire chief was wearing the paint off, polishing it, but I don't think that's really true.
Tell them that's not in the budget.
He's trying to get it yellow.
Our effort for combined dispatch with Hampden has had its ups and downs since we withdrew from the Chicopee Regional Dispatch 6 months ago. We've tackled all the decisions related to the shared service, such as responsibilities and supervision of the dispatch operation, housing, financing, and cost sharing of the dispatch, executive oversight by both towns, and general legal provisions necessary for any joint agreement between two towns. On May 9th, Hampden's police chief and East Long Meadow's police and fire chief, finance, IT, and I reached agreement on a final draft contract to send to our respective town attorneys. On June 6th, so that's a month later, we received a revised agreement from Hampden's council that not only did not incorporate what we had agreed to on May 9th, it reverted to a draft that had been negotiated and revised at meetings in April. With this backward movement from Hampden and no response from Attorney Donahue, I've asked Attorney Maynard to handle any further discussions on this IMA with Hampden's attorney. I hope to have progress on the agreement to share with you in an executive session at our next council meeting. It would be okay for executive session because it would be discussing a contract. And you all should be aware of it's a very complex relationship when you're combining services of two towns, but I thought we had things pretty ironed out. Let's see where we go in the next 2 weeks. Police union, yay, ratified their contract last Friday. So their contract is good through June 30th of 2021. Director Sarah Menard has passed the certifications needed to be the certified procurement officer for the town's goods and services. We expect that this will strengthen our procurement practices, which it already is, and it will lead to cost savings and ensure compliance with Mass General Law. Public Works is working on the design of the Elm Street sidewalk project. I think of all the projects that have been not financed specifically, but have been discussed, this Elm Street project is the one that I've gotten the most calls on. The people are the most anxious to get it done. It's a big project. It's going to be their big sidewalk project of the year. It's got some, engineering stuff that is a little more complicated than just a straight sidewalk on a straight spot. But construction should start at the end of the summer. July 4th celebration is coming together very smoothly. The parade committees reported that the parade is going well. Parade plans are going well. Rotary Club is handling the carnival this year as a fundraiser, which will help with the expenses of the fireworks that they've decided to handle. They're a great Rotary Club, and we thank them for all their help. In addition, Bentley's will be handling the beer tent. I'm meeting with representatives of Bentley's to finalize that piece. My second year of this project has gone much better than last year. I don't know that it could have gone a lot any worse actually last year, since I was so new. It was, what is the 4th of July parade? What are you all talking about? I know now. And
You
our
would have known if you didn't say anything. It would have been great.
Our third year will be East Long Meadow's 125th anniversary, so it's time to start thinking about what you'd like to see for that celebration. The Open Space and Recreation Committee has been reactivated to allow completion of the Open Space and Recreation Plan that was close to completed in 2016. With the transition in the Recreation Department and the Planning Department, it just sort of fell by the wayside. But in order to get the plan completed and financing, we will qualify for grants at the state and CPC money, local funding. We need to complete the plan. It will come to you all after this committee approves it. They will recommend it to you, and then it has to be approved by the state after that. And then we can start applying for grants. The following appointments fall within the council's purview to review within 45 days of my appointment, and reject if you so choose. The following are reminders. June 21st is the summer reading program kickoff. The 4th of July festivities, and August 25th is a blood drive at Heritage Park. Finally, I'll be out of the office June 14th through the 19th, returning on the 20th. As always, I'm available by phone and will be checking email. I'll be out of the country on the 15th and 16th, so I'll have limited phone access, but email for sure. Thank you.
All right. 6, approval of minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the May 22nd, 2018 open session minutes as submitted.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain because I wasn't here.
Thanks, Paul. Subcommittees, Don, you're up.
Yeah, did a first test of what I'm hoping to be is going to be town-wide with our town Facebook page. I used ourselves as an example. We had the latest revised agenda. I contacted Ryan Quimby in the IT department, asked him to convert it to either a JPEG or PNG, and he did, and had it up within minutes on our Facebook page. I already received responses, which, considering it was only a few hours ago, that's a really good thing. I tested it on my smartphone, you could expand it, read it, and then our traditional way of posting was right above it, where people had to click on it, then go to another page, then go look for it and everything. So I'm going to be speaking, unless there's some real big conflict in my business schedule next week, Wednesday at 1 o'clock to the department heads, and I'm going to ask them to see if we can come to a consensus of trying to get agendas as well as minutes, matters that are typically posted on our bulletin board, to make them more social media friendly. We already have the technology, it's an easy conversion, and it's just a question of creating uniformity. And I think our constituents will welcome being able to have an extra venue to get information that's important to them and to the town. That's about it.
Don't quit yet, you're on planning now.
There's nothing on planning, we're still waiting. We're still waiting for our next project.
All right, good. Kathy, you're up for licensing?
This is just to approve minutes of our May 2nd subcommittee meeting for the town manager's evaluation. I reported on it already, but essentially, Mr. Federici and Mr. Ford and myself met to review the council's performance ratings for Denise's annual evaluation. We've done that. The report has been written. It's been discussed here in open session and reviewed with Denise, and this is simply an opportunity tonight to approve the minutes and enter them into the record.
So I'm going to entertain a motion to approve the open session minutes of the May 2nd, 2018 Town Manager Performance Evaluation Subcommittee meeting.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. So it's for you guys, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
Didn't sound very cohesive.
General Bylaws Subcommittee report.
No.
Tom?
Actually, that would
Oh,
be-
that's you, Paul, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay, we're all in this together. We did have a meeting the other day, we were discussing, let's see, one of the bylaws regarding the departmental revolving funds. We had a couple questions. I know Sarah's not here yet, but she did answer one of the questions. We did have a couple more questions to ask her regarding the writing of this, so I'll hold off and we'll get those questions answered.
I know there's a second reading tonight, so I was thinking that maybe it would be better to continue it until you guys are all set.
Okay.
She will be here. She will be
Oh,
here.
okay, maybe we can.
We're going to do the second reading tonight, but I was thinking if it wasn't, if you guys need more time for
There-
that, then we could continue the 11 until the 26th, but it would have to be on the 26th that we would take a vote because it's got to go into effect for July 1.
I mean, they're not big questions, so if you want to hold off
Okay.
till she gets
Yeah,
here,
that's
we
fine.
can just,
No problem.
And that in theory, then we can do the second reading if we can
Okay.
hopefully do it out of turn.
Easy enough. So now we have good news. Eagle Scout recognition for Timothy Callahan. So Timothy, we, the East Long Meadow Town Council, offer our sincere congratulations to Eagle Scout Timothy Callahan for your achievements and service as a resident of this community. Member Boy Scout Troop 179. A witness whereof I affix the official town seal this 12th day of June, 2018. So if you can come up. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You got a lot going on.
Family got a good photo, or
I was gonna say, if we have
one would be
official-
better
We can get a
from
photo
right
up
there.
here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. why
Photo
don't you-
time.
Yeah.
And all of us?
Why not?
Do it.
Here, right?
We are here, we're here for
We'll
that.
stand on the counter.
Who's the shortest one?
That'd be me.
That's Mike.
There you go. That's better.
Is it gonna fit now?
Okay, we can do this like we're in
Come on in, Tom. Come on in. There you go.
that far.
Congratulations.
You're welcome.
Congratulations.
Thank you, congratulations. Thank you.
Tom, you're up for the annual town election results update. You're up for the election results.
The election was a week ago today. We had 2 races, an unopposed race for the town council, and our incumbents, Don Anderson and Tom O'Connor, are back with us for 3 years. And Sarah Trulio won the seat on the school committee, beating Susan Mantoni. It was a great race by the 2, and so she gets 3 years beginning July 1st. And we had 10% come out. We had 1,169 people vote out of 11,675 registered voters. So, always hoping for more, but with the 1 contested race, it was good. And the other thing that's good is, I just want to bring up again, was the real-time reporting, hour by hour. Ryan had helped, how many people come in between 8 and 9, 9 and 10, 10 and 11, and it's a nice trend if you look at elections and, yeah, and also, I'm sorry, also the questions. Thank you very much. Yeah, those questions all passed 85 to 90%, yes on the question. So all 3 charter amendments and enhancement did pass. So that was good. We appreciate your support on those. And, we can revisit those every year to see if there's something we need to do next year. But all in all, it was election went very well. And we have another election coming up September 4th, which is the state primary, which leads us into our final election this year on November 6th for the state election. Thank you.
We're going to be busy.
Yeah. Any year that ends in an even number, it's going to be busy.
All right. Orders of the day, so we're going to move on to licensing matters. We have a 1-day liquor license request from the Masonic Temple for June 30th, 2018, 5 p.m. to midnight for a retirement party. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the 1-day liquor license for the Masonic Temple for June 30th, 2018, from 5 to midnight for a retirement party.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
We also have a entertainment license for St. Paul's Church for the 4th Fest, July 4th, 2018, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. This is they did it last year, it's the kids kind of festival thing for 4th of July. So I will entertain a motion to approve a 1-day entertainment license for St. Paul's Church for July 4th, 2018, from 9 to 4 for the 4th Fest.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Old business? None? New business? Town council meeting scheduled for the summer. Last year, we had 1 meeting in July and 1 in August. We had reduced the schedule from 2 to 1 for those months because people were on vacation. I'm okay with that. And if we
Fine.
needed to have another meeting, we could arrange it.
Your first meeting in July is July 3rd, probably not a good night to have a
No.
meeting.
No,
Oh, it's the 10th, it's the
the
following.
10th, yeah.
Okay.
I gotta say,
We
wait.
don't want any fireworks at our meeting.
Yeah.
I looked at the
I would have been there.
Yeah. And I'm the Pope.
So that, we didn't take a real vote last year. We just kind of agreed that we would reduce that schedule, and if we really needed to meet, we could arrange it, so. Board of Health, update? Hi, Amy.
Sarah's on her way. I'm not sure if she'll get here, but I'll bring up a chair for her just in case you want to scoot down.
She didn't know we were this efficient.
Huh?
She
I know
didn't
you
know we
guys
were
went
this
through that
efficient.
fast. So thank you for taking the time to chat with us this evening. We're here today first to update you on the mosquito and tick surveillance treatment program for this year. I know historically it's been something that's created a lot of buzz in town, so I wanted to make sure that...
I get it.
No pun intended.
I didn't even do that on purpose.
Sure you didn't do it.
I did, I swear. I wish I was that witty. So last year, you'll remember, we switched our treatment. We used to spray from the helicopter in April with BTI to try to hit some of the wetlands and areas that bred mosquitoes. Through research and conversations with the State Epidemiology Lab in Massachusetts Department of Public Health, there was a hypothesis that we had that that was an ineffective method of controlling the mosquitoes in town based on the time of year that we did it and the efficacy of the BTI over long periods of time. Last year, we switched to a surveillance and treatment program where we had traps weekly through town from June through the end of September, and we assessed how many mosquitoes we caught to try to see were they early in the season mosquitoes, were they all late in the season, what were we looking at for populations. We found that in in June, there was only 5% of the total mosquitoes for the season. In July, it increased to 25%, and in August, it increased to 58%. So that was one of the things that led us to believe that what we were doing with the helicopter was, in fact, ineffective. If we're only looking at 5% of our total mosquito population in June, spraying in April for something that lasts about 14 days efficacy was not really hitting any of our major mosquitoes time of the year. The other thing, so that confirmed that. The other thing was the first positive mosquito for West Nile virus. So the reason we were spraying was to control the spread of disease like West Nile virus and Eastern equine encephalitis. That first mosquito was not found until July 27th, so well into our mosquito season, and that's par for the course on the trending of the mosquito arboviruses. So then we looked at that, we said, what are we going to do this year? The company that we hired to work us last year, they charged us about $15,000 for the season. We added a couple extra traps once we had a West Nile virus hit, but about $15,000. They increased that to $110,000 this year. They were not going to do a limited treatment mechanism the way we had. So with that, I approached the state Mass Department of Public Health and said, what can we do? We want to continue our mosquito control services. And because of our proactive stance in previous years, most notably last year in our change in treatment, they have offered to do that surveillance for us for free this year, which is not something that they typically do, and it's something that costs, as you can tell, by $110,000, a lot of money. So what that's going to do for our surveillance program is we're going to have more, we're going to have better data because it's going to be spread throughout the town versus the limited locations we were able to afford last year. We're also going to be testing for more vectors like Triple E, Eastern equine encephalitis, and they're going to do it more frequently. So actually the first traps are going out tonight, which just happened to be coincidental. They also are going to move them, I think I mentioned that. Mosquito control, so that's the surveillance piece of it. Now the mosquito control end, which is what we were doing with the BTI from the helicopter. This year we've increased our catch basins to 164 catch basins, and we're going to do it 3 times throughout the year. The catch basins were selected based on population density and who uses the area. So we picked the schools, parks, and center field based on the times that people use those areas of town. Tick populations are increasing. I don't know, you guys, I'm sure you have read about it. CDC says it's going to be the worst year in history for tick-borne diseases. So one of the things we wanted to do is be proactive on that side of things, and so we had a little money that we saved on the surveillance since the state was doing it for free. We rolled out a tick control pilot program. So we treated all of Pine Knoll, the perimeter of Pine Knoll, with an all natural barrier spray. And that will happen 3 times throughout the season. What we'll do at the end of the season is I'm going to compare the amount of ticks that I can collect on a white sheet throughout Pine Knoll with some of our other fields to see if the treatment that we had done on Pine Knoll really had any efficacy. The other thing, an often unaddressed problem for mosquito control is the man-made, what we do to create the mosquitoes on ourselves. So the health department is going to address that by 2 approaches. We do education and outreach, just did an hour presentation for Brownstone, that's up on YouTube for LCAT. And we're also going to continue to address the nuisances in town, so the standing water, brush, leaves, the things that cause the tick and mosquito breeding grounds. A really great thing is this year, the State Reclamation Board approved the first mosquito control district in 35 years, and we're part of that district. We have applied for and received over $250,000 in funding from the state and from the CDC to get this pilot program up and running. And that's going to bring a lot of additional free services to our town. They're going to do habitat mapping for us to see where, we can guess, but we're not, I'm not a arbovirus specialist, so they're going to do a much more in-depth search of what the breeding areas are going to be in town, species flight range data and proximity to high frequented areas in town, and mapping of potential risks based on that density. The goal for 2019 is to use this mosquito control district to fund and control our entire mosquito control program in town. So no more of this kind of cherry picking from the state, getting contractors to do this. They should be able to offer us all the services we want, and it should be at a cost savings because we'll be spreading it out through multiple towns. And then final on that, I was elected to the Pioneer Valley Mosquito Control District Commission Board. It's a 5-member board, and we're going to be kind of the group, sorry, my board. Is this too much for you? We're going to be leading the Mosquito Control District.
I really didn't mean to laugh at that, but it's just,
Yeah, there's a lot of
I
competition.
didn't realize there was such a board.
Well, it's the
Good
first,
for you,
it's the first in 35 years. Basically, what it allows us to do is be on the cutting edge of what's being developed and have East Long Meadow have a voice into the services that we want to see offered by Mosquito Control District.
It is good, I just messed with you.
Thank you.
Very good.
Great job.
Okay, any questions on the mosquito or tick program? Yes.
First of all, congratulations
Thank you.
on everything. I was blown away by, the $110,000 and able to get the state,
Yeah.
all that. Bravo.
Thank you.
Also, segueing to my previous comments, if there's a way you can get Ryan or someone to put a link on our town Facebook page with a comment, and we'll make sure we can get that shared so that that'll get to a number of people.
Sure.
So that, as opposed to them hunting for it on the website or ever. I mean, don't get me wrong, post
Yeah.
it there. Let's see if we can get a link and a quick comment about it so that we can start getting this out there.
The program specifically?
No, the video on
The
YouTube.
video.
Oh, the
is,
video.
the
Yeah, so it's on
education
our
video.
Facebook, it's on LCAP, but I can also
Put it on
ask
the
Ryan to
town.
put it on the town.
Yep.
Sure. Any additional questions for that?
You never thought you were going to be a mosquito expert, did you?
I didn't think I would ever know this much about mosquitoes.
I'll be honest with you, neither did I, and I've learned more about mosquitoes in the last 2 years than I care to know.
Well, that's what public health is. We do things to protect you that you don't even ever need to know about.
Good.
So Sarah's now gonna talk about a grant that we received. You want me to lead into it, or you wanna?
Yeah, you could do
I'll
it.
lead into it. Okay, sounds good.
job.
I'm gonna
Keep
do it.
going.
I know, so in a row.
So the town of East Long Meadow and Long Meadow jointly applied for a grant with the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission to look at a review of both our health departments to see what services might be enhanced through a sharing of services. It's starting the process. It's really an exploratory to see what we do, what they do, what we are duplicating of work, and what they do that we don't do, and what we do that they don't do. They're going to help us in compiling the data, and because of this process, we have qualified for an intern from UMass to do a lot of the trends into our communicable disease trends and what we have going on in town. Why we did this was because Foundational Public Health looks at the capabilities of the health departments and what the basic services, the state has an idea of what basic services they want us to offer. And we have made great advancements in this town in the last year and a half, thanks to your generosity and support and Denise's generosity and support. But small towns in general have a lot more difficulty trying to meet these foundational services. So by looking at if we can do these together, we're ahead of the curve in what the state is looking at. The governor just had a special commission that was formed to look at, one of the things specifically was to see if they wanted to make it a mandate to have these cross-jurisdictional services for departments that weren't able to meet those foundational public health services. So we're ahead of the curve with this. We're getting in, hopefully, if there ever is a mandate, we're ahead, we're able to qualify for some of the funding. We don't know where it will go. This is really just something to inform you guys of. There's no expected outcome of this, but I do know at the end of the process, Pioneer Valley Planning Commission is going to present to both the boards of health simultaneously so we can all get together, and we will invite you guys to that, their results of it, if you're interested in coming.
This particular grant has an opportunity for us to seek certain things that we need in terms of data. So one of the things that we're asking in this grant is for them to start looking at opportunities where we can have a health needs assessment. That's just basic information about the health needs of the community. That data allows us to be able to track the impact of our work, to understand what the needs are, and to really look at opportunities for grant funding in the future. The other piece, as Amy was saying, that's really important is as changes are happening in public health, we want to be prepared to be ready for those changes instead of sort of chasing behind it, but to be ahead. That allows us to lead and to be able to leverage being ahead of the curve for any changes that come ahead. So that was an important piece as well, that we really thought that it was worth spending the time to explore ahead of time if there's an opportunity, and if so, how we can go about doing this. So it's been a great process. It's a short process. So by August 8th, we said we'll have some information to be able to share with you to see what, where the possibilities are. And the other part of this is not just meeting the short-term mandates, but thinking about long-term in terms of the health needs of East Long Meadow. So we're making sure that we're prepared for the future, not just to take care of things, sort of a crisis mode. We actually want to be able to plan ahead so that people can live a healthy life across all ages when they live in this town. So that's an important piece of that, and I think it opens the door to those opportunities.
That's all you have for us? That's it?
That's it, yeah. Any questions on that? No?
No, thank you very much.
Well,
I have
Excellent.
Oh, yeah,
not on this topic, so if you don't mind if you
No.
change quickly.
We'll change.
I think it was probably about a month ago that we were talking about the trash and how, recycling tonnage was up. Trash tonnage was up, but
Yep.
recycling was kind of flat. Did you get any more data on that? I know we were asking you some questions, and we were trying to surmise as to why we had kind of flatlined with recycling and.
I don't have any data why. I do have the exact numbers that I can send to you tomorrow. I created a report.
If you could.
Yep. One of the things that we are doing this summer is we have a 7th grade intern who's going to be working with us. Yep. His name is Beckett. He's really interested in recycling and trash in town, and he's going to be working with our recycling coordinator. And they've
You ever
created.
talk to the guys that pick it up and make sure they come get it?
Well, that would be great. No, we're gonna go around before trash pickups happen. So he's gonna be on the street looking at trash to make sure people are putting their recyclables in the recycling containers, and make sure that people aren't disposing of more than 35 gallons in trash, because that's our townwide limit. So part of the reason we can hypothesize that our trash is going up is people are putting the bags on the top or the bags on the side, and Republic is picking it up. So the things we're gonna do is we're gonna assess, make sure people are recycling, assess the limits. Then what we're gonna do is go back after trash has been picked up and make sure that the trash hasn't been picked up, that the "we're sorry" notes have been left by our hauler, because they're under our contract. That's something that they're supposed to do. They're not supposed to take it. So that's a reinforcement of the educational piece for our residents, a reinforcement of the educational piece for our hauler. And then what Beckett and Liz are gonna do is go door to door to those people, review their, "we're sorry we didn't collect this" note, talk to them about why it's important to recycle for the environment, but also what it means for our cost savings for our town in terms of, it's basically when we recycle, we get paid twice, because we're not paying for it to go into the trash, plus we're getting a refund from the state to recycle. So just educating our residents, I think, some people think it's just, good for the environment, but it's also great for the taxpayers.
If you could just touch on quickly why we don't do single stream recycling? Because that's a question that comes up.
Yeah, it does come up
relatively
often.
frequently.
Yeah, the reason we don't do single stream is because the rebates for single stream are dramatically lower, and I don't have the exact numbers, but that's something I can also send in an email to you tomorrow. But it's more like $10 or more a ton to separate it, because it's more usable recycle. So the people who are collecting it make more off of what they sell it when they sell it after. So we make a lot more by keeping the double stream.
Excellent. I've got,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, just one question in that regard. So when you go to these houses and talk about their recycling, how are you going to know what's in their bags? I mean, you're going to know what's in the recycling bin.
Yeah.
That's
Liz and
self-evident.
Beckett are good at, they are excited.
Well, I know, but unless they're taking people's trash bags and opening them up,
They're gonna open them up.
okay. I
I think there's,
I think we'll get complaints about that, but that's just
and
me.
I think one way to mitigate that we discuss, as you've always mentioned in terms of education, we're going to look at ways to be able to let the town know that this is going to happen, and sort of what to be prepared for, what to look for.
Watch out for the 7th grader going through your trash.
It's legit.
Or he's got permission.
Starting a college
Oh yeah, just please brand him out with
He's
East Long
got an
Meadow
idea.
official
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's
So-
exactly, it's going to be.
We have a
it's
press
not-
release.
Yeah, we're going to make sure that there's a strategy prior to doing that, where people are aware. We talked about different ways to get that information out, what to look for, who's it gonna be, what's the reason, so that if you do see someone. And also working with them to also look at what the specific strategies are that are being done to sort of be respectful of sort of the property and the things that are there, sorry. So these are things to take into consideration, and part of it is also the education piece. And we're really excited to have Beckett on board to be able to do this with us and using his leadership.
How'd you find him?
He comes into the town hall to see us about a week to talk about trash.
There you go.
Yeah, he
Yes.
comes in, he wants to
He
know.
found you then.
Yeah, he
Got it, all right.
Yeah, so we figured we could use his energy and enthusiasm and give him something fun to do this summer.
I had two questions. The first is, it's great, I met Beckett, he's a great kid.
Yeah.
He's very outspoken,
Yeah,
in some ways. I mean, he's very interested in what's going on in town.
yeah.
How are we going to protect him when he's going to trash with regards to any kind of issues that he may come across?
Yeah, Liz is gonna be with him. His parents have agreed that this is something that they think it's safe for him to do. I mean, he's not gonna take out 3 bags of trash, put them on the side and go through them. It's, the top bag, you're
Well,
gonna,
he's in the roadway, plus the trash itself. What
Right.
if there's some disposables in there or some
Right.
sharp objects?
right,
I think those are going to be things that we're going to delineate closely. We'll be able to look at that and look at the specific strategies. So it's sort of in the early stages, I think, still of planning and putting that together. But we're aware that it's the safety part and the education piece. There's still pieces that are being put together. We'll make sure that some of the concerns that you brought up that we look at and we address.
Very sensitive to that.
Yeah, I would. The second question is, we are going to pick the trash up?
what? What's
The
your
trash
question?
will be picked up, and then there'll be an education process, so if someone is...
No, our town contract with Republic says that they will not pick up trash that has recycling in it or that's over 35 gallons. So they have a note that they're supposed to leave, that they're supposed to be doing this education piece when they come through. So we're ensuring that Republic is using that sticker, and then we're gonna follow up with a knock on the door when someone's home to re-educate.
So it's enforcement of our current contract to start
Right.
with. And we've been asking
What you
Republic now
guys have to
for
do
6 months.
Yeah.
for a while.
to-
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you said bags, you're not talking about the
the
town...
green bags.
The green bags.
No,
No.
You're talking about...
Those are
But there's
unlimited. Those are unlimited.
Right.
right, those are unlimited.
I
Yeah,
just want to
because-
clarify for
Yeah,
folks who are listening.
Correct. Yeah.
Something like concern I have.
Yeah, no, the green bags are unlimited,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, again, back to communications, we definitely have to let the public know, because I think the average person may still have some gray areas of what is recycling. Even today,
Yeah.
I had a plastic straw, and I said, wait a minute, do I put that in recycling? Or no, do I put that in regular trash?
Right.
Some people ask the question about pizza boxes.
Right.
And other type of things. And I think before we start picking through
came
the
out.
trash,
Yeah,
It's on the trash schedule.
it is
Yeah.
on the trash schedule, yes.
It just
Okay.
came out in the mail.
Liz, yeah,
Went to every
Liz,
house.
Liz has done segments with LCAT, reminding people, we have the annual trash card that goes out. So we're educating on multiple different fronts. This is just another form of
We now have a
education.
new reporter from the news, from Mass Live, Elise Linscott. And I don't know if you received her email, that she's been assigned the town of East Long Meadow, which is so maybe we want to reach out to her.
That's
Have her
great.
do a news story and maybe get something in the reminder as well.
Yeah,
And to
Good
perhaps
exposure for
repost
their-
some of that educational information on the Facebook page as well as other venues, because
right,
as was pointed out, we definitely will be hearing about it, people
Yeah.
picking through trash and so forth, it might be an issue there.
yeah. Kathy, did you?
No, I had the same question, but
Perfect. Okay.
comment about, just make sure it gets in the reminder.
Yep. We have been in the reminder twice in the last month. Have you seen it?
Yes.
We
Yeah,
gotta hit them
good
all,
stuff, yeah.
everything.
We were,
Than us.
huh? Yeah. Well, it's good stuff. We like it when it's the good stuff.
Thank you very
All right.
much.
Thank you.
One,
Thank you.
I just have one question for you guys. Is the quarterly updates that we're sending you working? Is there any questions that you guys have on that about what we are doing per quarter? No?
Well, I
No,
actually
the
do have
updates
a
are great.
question.
Yeah,
Can you go over the tobacco regulations,
sure.
the new ones
Yes,
that we talked about last week?
yes.
Just
So in March, the Board of Health voted in a new tobacco local regulation. What that did is it raised our minimum purchase age to 21. Well, now you're putting me on the spot. Raised our tip age to 21. It prohibits the sale of blunt wraps. It prohibits the sale of flavored tobacco unless you're in a tobacco store, retail store. Minimum pricing for cigars of $2.50 per cigar. And I think that covers everything. One of the main questions that the businesses had, the only real question that we've had from the businesses, because this is a trend that's throughout the state, so no one was really that surprised, is could they continue selling lottery if they were the tobacco-only store? And the board voted at our most recent Board of Health meeting that yes, they could. So the two businesses that would be affected by that regulation were very happy and relieved that that was the decision the board made. And I think if the board wants to speak to that decision more.
No, I
Made
think,
no
No.
sense not to let them.
yeah.
Right.
Donna has-
Realistically, that was the complaint
Yeah.
that I got, was it?
Yeah.
So that was
Donna
under
has gone
consideration.
out to every tobacco retailer and done an educational visit, delivered all the required signage that they need to have. So they have everything. They've had an educational visit where they've reviewed any questions right on site so they could show them the product. We reviewed the products that we identified that would need to be removed or could no longer be sold. And then the first round of compliance checks will be the first week in July, and everyone has been made aware of that.
Okay, that was the other thing other question I had.
Yeah.
When does that compliance check start?
Yes.
Something that I heard, and again, you hear a lot of things in
Yeah.
town, but I don't know if it's true. If they sell soda or chips, they can no longer do that?
Only if they are an adult-only establishment. So if they choose to sell flavored tobacco, the hookah, the vapes, the paraphernalia that goes with it, then the regulation is written on the state level, that's an incidental sale. So they cannot sell anything other than the tobacco product. And that's what the board voted this week, to allow the lottery sale.
But the other stuff can't be done.
The other stuff still cannot be done, correct?
So if there's a complaint with a violation with the new regs, is that going to be enforced by our building department?
No, it's us.
We're sending Becky.
He's gonna be a busy kid.
Trash in place.
Yeah, he is a good
Gonna
kid.
have to put him in witness protection.
Overall, the businesses, I mean, I don't know what you guys are hearing, you probably hear a lot more than we do, but on site, when Donna was there was, the biggest question was the lottery, and,
That was really
This is
the
the biggest
question that I
moneymaker,
had.
yeah.
yeah,
That was the biggest question that I got, was
Yeah.
why they couldn't sell the lottery.
yeah,
Didn't really have an answer, but
right.
we straightened it out, and it's fine, but I knew where to go to find one,
Good.
so, thank you guys.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, great work.
Kevin,
Public hearing?
take 8D out of order to go on item 9.
Oh, yeah, we have to take, I have to do a motion to take 9 out of order because we have our public hearing, which is scheduled for 6:30, so we're late.
So moved.
Seconded.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
9's out of order.
Was that all of 9 or 9A?
So actually, all of 9, because they're back to back. So at this time, we're going to do the public hearing. So our first public hearing is a public hearing for liquor license transfer from YTC Inc., DBA Tao's Asian Cuisine, to MLY Inc., DBA Tao's Asian Cuisine. Larry,
Yes, sir.
how are you, sir?
Good, how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good.
The reason for the public hearing is to discuss a liquor license transfer of ownership application for alcohol for Tao's Asian Cuisine. Council members are O'Connor, Federici, Ford, Manley, Anderson, Hill, and Kane. I'm going to open the public meeting at this point and have the clerk read the legal record into the notice.
Notice is hereby given under Chapter 138 of the General Laws that MLY Incorporated, DBA Tao's Asian Cuisine, has applied for a liquor license transfer from YTC Incorporated, DBA Tao's Asian Cuisine, 31 Harkness Avenue, East Long Meadow, Massachusetts, to MLY Incorporated, DBA Tao's Asian Cuisine. The Town Council will hold a public hearing on the application on Tuesday, June 12, 2018, at 6:30 p.m. in the Council on Aging Meeting Room, 328 North Main Street, East Long Meadow, Massachusetts. for the council, Thomas Florence, clerk of the council.
Thanks, Tom. This time we'll have our applicant present.
Good evening, Mr. President, council members, Ms. Menard, Mr. Florence. For the record, my name is Larry Levine. You pardon my voice. This has been going on for weeks now. I'm here representing MLY Incorporated, which plans to do business as Tao's Asian Cuisine. I have with me tonight Mr. Michael Chen, who's one of the principals of the new corporation, the proposed manager, and a longtime businessman in the restaurant business. He was the owner and manager for 10 years of the Iron Chef in Longmeadow. The application before you tonight is for the transfer of the liquor license from YTC Inc., doing business as Tao's Asian Cuisine, to Mr. Chen's business. His partner in the business is a woman named Chi Yu, affectionately known as Carol. And I have met with them on numerous occasions. They have executed a lease with the current landlord. We have gone through the process with the planning board in town for the amendment of the special permit that was approved accordingly. Hoping to get your approval. It will then go to ABCC. After their approval, then we will meet with Amy again for a pre-closing inspection, and if everything goes well, we will then close on the transaction.
Thank you. All right.
That's about
I'm
it.
going to open it up now for public comment. Is there any? I'll jump at once. Okay. I guess at this time we'll close the hearing and discuss it. So we're going to close the public hearing at this time. I don't have any issue with the transfer.
No.
I don't know if anybody else does.
No.
All right. So
All the paperwork is there.
let me get to my motion sheet. All right. So I'm going to entertain a motion to approve a liquor license transfer from YTC Inc., DBA Tao's Asian Cuisine to MLY Inc., DBA Tao's Asian Cuisine.
So moved.
Seconded?
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Hey, Kev, I'm sorry, did you close the public?
Yes,
did.
yes, he did.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Good luck,
Very much.
guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
We'll miss you, Mike. Thanks. That Mike. Well, now we're welcoming you, we're missing him.
So many mics here.
We'll wait 2 minutes. No, we got a 6:40 hearing.
6:40,
Yeah.
Run right into 6:40.
We can do the 6:40.
Yeah, makes sense.
Kevin?
We can do the
I'm gonna do
6:40.
6:40.
Right now.
6:40.
All right, so now we're going to do our 6:40 public hearing. The reason for this public hearing is to read for the second time a new proposed general bylaw for revolving fund. Council members again are O'Connor, Federici, Ford, Manley, Anderson, Hill, and Kane. At this time, I'll open the public meeting and have the clerk read the notice into the record.
The East Long Meadow Town Council will hold a public hearing on June 12, 2018, at 6:40 PM in the meeting room on the Council on Aging located at 328 North Main Street to address changes and updates to the town's general bylaws following input by each department. Information relating to the general bylaw updates are on file with the town clerk and available for review by the public for the council, Thomas Florence, clerk of the council.
Now I just got to find my paperwork where I got to read it.
You're looking for 9D?
Yeah. No, I'm looking for the actual,
The actual language of.
yeah, here it is. All right, so the Chapter 11 of the bylaws, departmental revolving funds. One, purpose, this bylaw establishes and authorizes revolving funds for use by town departments, boards, committees, agencies, and officers in connection with the operation of programs or activities that generate fees charges or other receipts to support all or some of the expense of those programs or activities. The revolving funds are established under and governed by General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53E and a half. 2, expenditure limitations. A department or agency head, board, committee, or officer may incur liabilities against and spend monies from a revolving fund established and authorized by this bylaw without appropriation, subject to the following limitations. A, fringe benefits of full-time employees whose salary or wages are paid from the funds shall also be paid from the fund. No liability shall be incurred in excess of the available balance of the fund. Total amount spent during a fiscal year shall not exceed the amount authorized by the town council on or before July 1st of that fiscal year, or any increased amount of that authorization that is later approved during that fiscal year by the town council and town manager. Interest earned on monies credited to a revolving fund established by this bylaw shall be credited to the general fund. 4, procedures and reports, except as provided in General Laws 4453E and a half, and this bylaw, the laws, charter provisions, bylaws, rules, regulations, policies, or procedures that govern the receipt and custody of town monies and the expenditure and payment of town funds shall apply to the use of a revolving fund established and authorized by this bylaw. The town accountant shall include a statement on the collections credited to the fund, the encumbrances and expenditures charged to each fund, and the balance available for expenditure in the regular report. The town accountant provides the department, board, committee, agency, or officer on appropriations made for its use. 5, authorized revolving funds. The table establishes A, each revolving fund authorized for use by town, department, board, committee, agency, or officer. B, the department or agency head, board, committee, or officer authorized to spend from each fund. C, the fees, charges, and other monies charged and received by the department, board, committee, agency, or officer in connection with the program or activity for which the fund is established that shall be credited to each fund by the town accountant. D, the expenses of the program or activity for which each fund may be used. E, any restrictions or conditions on expenditures from each fund. F, any reporting or other requirements that apply to each fund. And G, the fiscal years each fund shall operate under this bylaw. Then the chart is, A is this revolving fund, solid waste disposal. It's department authorized by the health department. Fees, charges, or other receipts credited to the fund, or trash bag receipts, recycling rebates. Program or activity expenses payable from the fund, or salaries, expenses, supplies, and contractual service to operate the solid waste disposal and recycling program. Restrictions or conditions on expenses payable from the fund, there are none. Other requirements or reports, annual reconciliation of internal records compared to the general ledger must be provided to the town accountant by July 31st. G, fiscal year 2018 and subsequent years. Council on Aging, department authorized to spend from the fund is the Council on Aging. Fees, charges, or other receipts credited to the fund, Council on Aging, general programming and activities such as but not limited to fitness room membership, exercise class fees, event fees, facility room rental, program or activity expenses payable from the fund, salaries, expenses, and contractual expenses to operate the general programming and activities. Restrictions or conditions on expenses payable from the fund, there are none. Other requirements, reports, annual reconciliation of internal records compared to the general ledger must be provided to the town accountant by July 31st. Carryover of unspent rental funds is allowed. Fiscal years is fiscal year 2018 and subsequent years. Revolving fund for health is department authorized to spend from the fund is the Department of Health. Fees, charges, or other receipts credited to the fund is users of the Sharps Recycling Program. Program or activity expenses payable from the fund, expenses such as containers and advertising provided Sharps Recycling Program in the community. Restrictions, we have none. Other requirements or reports, reconciliation of internal records compared to the general ledger must be provided to the town accountant by July 31st. In the fiscal years is fiscal 2018 and subsequent years. Okay. Any public input on that? I didn't think so. Pat? You're good? Paul?
We had a meeting.
Yeah, you
So,
guys have another meeting, right?
yeah, but in correlation with this, I know we've had a couple questions before, and Sarah wasn't
Sarah's
here
here,
yet.
so
So are you going to close the meeting first, or the
Close
public
it.
meeting?
Yeah, we can close the
Public
public hearing at this time because nobody has anything to say, and we can go through what you guys need to.
Okay.
Sarah, and then
All
it'll
right.
kind of help educate us too, so.
Okay. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks.
What are your questions?
All right, it's nothing earth-shattering, but we did have a meeting last week, and we went over the bylaw, and thank you for your information, by the way, because we were wondering, so it's a necessity, obviously, to put this in there, so that's fine, that was one of the questions. One of the other questions was, let's see, we'll go through these. On 5G, would it be clearer, everybody's a fiscal year revolving fund, correct? So would it be clear to put the fiscal years as July 1st to June 30th, instead of putting the fiscal years, each fund shall operate under this bylaw?
I don't think it really matters. I mean, the town itself, fiscal year is already defined as July 1st to June 30th.
Okay. As long as, as long as it's evident that they're all fiscal year revolving funds. And I noticed, well, first of all, there's, like, LCAT's not in here.
Right.
Okay.
LCAT is an enterprise fund, just like water and sewer.
Oh, okay. Okay, it used to be a revolving fund.
Correct.
And I got an education here because I did not know that you could take money out of a fund that was specially designated, and so that
Yes.
was a good thing. And one thing I noticed in here, let's see, so obviously none of these have restrictions or conditions for the spending, or, okay, because that was another question.
No, other than it has to be for those designated expenses as mentioned in the
Okay.
bylaw. But yes, there's nothing else special that's going to restrict
Okay,
them.
and just for my benefit and possibly the other board members, we have three of them here, Solid Waste, Council on Aging, and Health. And I noticed Council on Aging is the only one where, under other requirements in the reports, that they can carry over unspent balances. The other two have to turn them into the general fund?
Well,
Or
no. So the Council on Aging, it says rental income.
Oh, okay, rental.
So there is a subset of the Massachusetts bylaw, and rental income has to be turned over to the general fund unless it is specifically authorized in the bylaw.
Okay.
The Council on Aging is the only one that does a rental in a revolving account, so therefore that's why that's the only one that it says that
Okay, and that's why it's in there to specify that.
Yeah,
that
'cause
was in there.
they
Okay.
rent this hall area.
Yeah, okay. All right. I think that was it. I don't know if Tom, you have any questions?
Well, the question I had is around the one that Paul already touched on, restrictions. Are there other restrictions that are listed in other revolving funds that you're aware of?
I haven't
Why is
seen
this all
it.
blank?
I haven't
There's no
seen
restrictions on
any.
these.
I think that it's for some very specific types of revolving. Ours are very straightforward, simple ones. We don't have any, many of the municipalities I looked at don't really have any. I mean, each municipality could be
Yeah.
different.
No, I understand this is a template that came from the state.
Right.
This is the second one that you decided to opt to use, which is fine.
Yep,
And,
because it was shorter.
yeah.
Aren't you
no,
happy?
Tables are much easier to read than the 5 pages of text, so,
Yes, I am, by the way.
yeah, so, I mean, that's good. That was the only question I had on this, aside from the fact that as a subcommittee, we're meeting to discuss this before July 1st, and we have another meeting scheduled to evaluate this and come back with a recommendation. So I don't know if we're jumping ahead.
We can hold off on a vote until you guys come back with your information.
That's, I guess, what I'm saying, is that,
So if that's the plan, and I'll entertain a motion to continue the hearing until
yeah, we've got our
26th
questions
of
answered
June,
now.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that you can take what you have for answers
Yeah.
and come up with what you need to.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Should any other questions come up between then and now, if they're sent to me via the town manager, I'm more than happy to answer anything that you may have.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I just have one comment. It's somewhat adjacent to the need to put this bylaw in place. And this is as a result of the municipal modernization bill that
Correct.
went into effect in August of 2016?
November.
November. So we're heading into almost 2 years since that's occurred, and we're just now getting to this. As a council, how do we make sure there aren't any other recommendations in there that require bylaws that we're, behind the 8 ball getting enacted?
That's a good question.
Do you want me to answer it?
Yes.
Do you have an answer?
You got an answer, I'd love it.
Yes. So after the modernization bill, as it was going into place and shortly thereafter, I reviewed what was due as well as Mr. Donahue.
Okay.
And he did provide the town with a letter of the items that we would need to take action, when we would need to take action, which matched the same things that I discovered as well. And this is really the only one that we haven't done yet.
Okay.
This was brought up in the prior year as needing to be done, but because all of the bylaws were being looked at, then it was thought to wait until after that subcommittee finished with that part before we then started already changing things. DOR is aware of where we stand on all of this, but they have said you have to do it before June 30th or there's
Fair
a
enough.
problem.
So we'll entertain a
Thank you.
motion to
You're welcome.
continue until the 26th of June.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second.
How much time on the 26th?
If we make that time 6:40.
40?
Yeah, 6:40, that makes it easy.
Second, if it wasn't?
Moved in second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on. 6:50. So we had our 6:50, so we can do the public hearing for the new general bylaw for acceptance of one-year exemption for Chapter 59, Section 5. The reason for the public hearing is to read for the first time a new proposed general bylaw to address a local acceptance, changing the current waiting period for veterans meeting requirements for an exemption from 5 years to 1 year in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5. Council members are O'Connor, Federici, Ford, Manley, Anderson, Hill, and Kane. At this time, I'll open the public hearing. Have the clerk read the notice into the record.
The East Long Meadow Town Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 12, 2018, at 6:50 p.m. in the Medium Room on the Council on Aging, located at 328 North Main Street, to address a proposed local acceptance that would change the current waiting period for veterans meeting the requirements for an exemption from 5 years to 1 year in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5, and pursuant to clauses 22, 22A, 22B, 22C, 22D, 22E, and 22F. Information related to this proposed bylaw is on file with the town clerk and available for review by the public. For the council, Thomas Florence, clerk of the council.
Next time. So this is deferral of taxes due by a member of the Massachusetts National Guard or reservist on active duty. Chapter 59? Is that the one? No?
It's the 5 years to 1 year.
It's which one?
It's C, 5 years to 1 year.
5 years to 1
It
year.
is
Waiting-
chapter
waiting period.
59 is just a different section.
We don't have this section. I don't have 59, whatever that is. But yeah, maybe I got it right here.
Here, it's right here, Kevin.
Oh, yeah, I got it. So it's the assessors follow Chapter 59, Section 5, clauses to accept an amendment to the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5, clauses 22, 22A, 22B, C, D, and F into the East Long Meadow Town General Bylaws. Currently, the assessors follow Chapter 59, Section 5, clauses 22, 22A, B, C, D, E, and F, which allows for an exemption provided the veteran was domiciled in Massachusetts for at least 6 months prior to entering such service, or having resided in the Commonwealth for 5 consecutive years prior to the date of filing. The proposed new local option would be to change the residency requirement for veterans to be domiciled in Massachusetts for at least 6 months prior to entering such service, or having resided in the Commonwealth for at least 1 consecutive year before the tax year begins. Notwithstanding this section, in any city or town which accepts this clause, the exemptions available pursuant to Chapter 59, Section 5, clauses 22nd A, 22nd B, 22nd C, 22nd D, 22nd E, and 22nd F may be granted to otherwise eligible persons who reside in the Commonwealth for a 1-year period prior to the date of filing for exemptions pursuant to the applicable clause. All right. Any public comment on that? I guess not. All right. So we're just going to continue because it's our first reading, so we have to do a second reading of it anyway. So at this point, I'll entertain a motion to continue the public hearing to 26th.
Say 6:45.
Yeah, 6:45.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, we only had 2 more of these left. Perfect.
Might need to go a little slower on this one.
Nope.
Yeah, we caught up.
The reason, we're up to our time.
You're good for this one.
7 o'clock.
No, we're still behind.
We're 5 minutes behind. We'll catch up. The reason for this public hearing is to read for the first time a new proposed general bylaw to address a local acceptance that would defer real estate taxes while a member of the military is on active service outside the Commonwealth and for the next 180 days after that service, in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5L. Council members are O'Connor, Federici, Ford, Manley, Anderson, Hurricane. It's a public hearing. I'm going to open the public hearing and have the clerk read the legal notice into the record.
The East Long Meadow Town Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 12, 2018, at 7 p.m. in the meeting room of the Council on Aging located at 328 North Main Street to address the proposed local acceptance of Mass General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5L, that would defer taxes while that member of the military is on active service outside the Commonwealth and for the next 180 days after that service. Information relating to this proposed bylaw is on file with the town clerk and available for review by the public. For the council, Thomas Florence, clerk of the council.
So this I'll read for the first time to accept the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5L into the East Long Meadow Town General Bylaws, Chapter 59, Assessment of Local Taxes, Section 5L. Deferral of taxes due by a member of the Massachusetts National Guard or reservist on active duty outside the Commonwealth. Upon acceptance of this section by a municipality, notwithstanding any other provisions of this chapter, to the contrary, any taxes due under this chapter by a member of the Massachusetts National Guard or reservist or dependent of a member of the Massachusetts National Guard or reservist shall be deferred while that member is on active service outside the Commonwealth and for the next 180 days after that service. No interest or penalty shall be assessed for any period before the expiration of those 180 days. So, any public comment on that? I don't see anybody else coming up. So, I'm going to entertain a motion to continue it to June 26th at 7.
Say 6:50?
6:50?
Yeah.
Sure.
You're cutting us short, you're only giving us 5 minutes.
I know, that's why I said 7. All right. 6:50 it is.
I cut down to 15 to 10 to 5.
Yeah, see, I know it. Pretty soon it'll be a minute.
Moved to second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
No, we got 4 minutes.
4 minutes? I gotta wait?
Yeah, it says 7:10.
Do we want to do some financial matters?
Why not?
Yes.
I'll move to go back to our regular, only to return back to item 9E when, as soon as practical after 7:10.
That's all.
So moved. Second.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Financial matters.
D1.
Request to fund the purchase and equipment of 2 police cruisers in the amount of $90,841 from free cash. This was one of the recommendations of the subcommittee. So I'm going to entertain a motion to approve a request to fund the purchase and equip 2 police cruisers in the amount of $90,841 from free cash.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Two. Request to fund the high school interior and exterior security door modifications in the amount of $30,918 from free cash. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve a request to fund the high school interior and exterior security door modification project in the amount of $30,918 from free cash.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Financial matters, motion to approve a request to fund the project to replace or add clock intercom bell systems at the high school, Burson Park Middle School, Mountain View Elementary School, and the Council on Aging in the amount of $86,397 from free cash. I'll entertain a motion to do that.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
There's a motion to approve a request to fund the assessor's vision software upgrade in the amount of $12,500 from free cash. We'll entertain that motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Financial matters, this is Sarah's favorite. Approve request to fund $1 million from free cash for the OPEB trust.
Yeah, that one we want to talk about.
I want to talk about
Yeah.
that. Let's go back to the hearing.
I got a question. So, you guys want to go?
Go.
Start?
You got
So,
questions?
where do we stand overall? I know that we're in bad standing overall, and so,
You mean in OPEB?
OPEB.
In OPEB.
Yeah.
is that,
In bad standing
Oh,
in
no.
our OPEB balance,
yeah.
not free cash.
Not generally, not generally bad standing.
We're generally,
Standing is pretty general.
where do we stand with our current funding, because we're throwing dollars in there? Where does this bring us up to? What is the action plan kind of going
Yep.
forward, if you can
Sure.
bring us forward a
So
little
we
bit?
currently have $4,632,870.98 in the OPEB trust. With this $1 million, it would bring us to $5 million, et cetera. So the plan is that, the goal is once we hit the $5 million, now I have a substantial sum of money in the trust that now I can meet with an actuary to say, okay, given the current projections, your discount rate, the expected earnings, at what point can we start funding new employees OPEB out of this? And at this rate, how long would that take? Because the goal of this is A, to fund our liability, but it's also to take it off of the tax rate. So if we put it in there, it grows, it keeps growing, we keep adding money to there, then I can at one point flatline the expense line for our retirement, the OPEB retirees portion. And then at some point, then that will actually start decreasing as people pass away. And then that part will actually be completely eliminated, and you'd be able to fund all of your employees solely out of this trust instead of having to fund it out of tax dollars.
So,
So that's the long-range plan.
yeah.
And what is our, what is our liability theoretically at this point? I know it's 7 figures.
More than 5 million?
It's about,
Way more than
well,
5
I'm
million.
guessing about 22,
26?
23?
It's around 37 million, and
Okay,
it goes up.
we're close.
It goes up about 3 to 4 million a year.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And then
But-
But that said, that's not atypical for the majority of municipalities in Massachusetts
No.
because it's another unfunded mandate and it's next to impossible to keep up with it.
We are an excellent example within the state of communities focusing on funding that and coming up with solutions and not just hoping it goes away or hoping somebody else comes up with a solution. So we have done a tremendous job at putting away money the past few years. I think that while we have the opportunity, that we should take advantage of that and put it there, because the longer it's in there, the better it's going to be. As well as when our actuary comes for the next valuation, the amount of money that we're already in there, that affects how much that liability is, which helps us a lot. So
Can you
these
just
are-
touch on the balance of the free cash after the $1 million is out?
Absolutely. So after what you just voted and approved, we have a balance of $2,299,940.90. And after this million comes out, then that would leave a balance of $1,299,940.90. That's still a large amount of free cash that therefore, since unspent at June 30th, which is in a couple of weeks, will roll over into our next year's free cash. So I'm anticipating that we will be very well off for next year as well.
So when the auditors or the state certifies our free cash, and that's around November-ish?
No, it's around October.
Okay, but in the fall?
Yeah.
You're saying then that if we approve this tonight and then our balance will go to 1.2 million, it's
1.9.
likely to be higher when you
Correct.
come back to us in October?
Correct. Because
Will be, because whatever we have left this fiscal year,
right,
we'll go back.
so for instance, as was discussed previously, we had budgeted for dispatch to be hired for civilians. We did not have that happen this year. So therefore, the funds that have been approved for that are going to
Turn back.
be turned back and therefore go into your free cash. And so other items like that will happen. Some capital projects that maybe were completed for less than what was expected, those will all contribute to there. So we'll wind up with more than that. I can't tell you right now how much, I have no idea. But I can tell you that it would be more than that. That would be the very lowest that it would be.
Do you recall what the previous 2 years have been? Is that around the same ballpark?
For free cash?
Yes.
I can tell you what they were certified at.
Yeah.
One moment, please.
It's gotta be over $1 million, because we put $1 million in last year.
It's like throwing a deck chair off the Titanic.
Yeah.
Look at the start.
Yeah.
And as
We
Sarah
gotta start, and
said,
it's-
as Sarah
we'll
said,
roll.
once it gets to the point where you're funding the future people in the OPEB, then you can, you'd be able to chip away quicker at the balance of the, you know. So it's not like the first year when we did this, and I remember former selectman who remained nameless, who stood up in the audience and.
There was only
and-
3 of you.
No, it was just one who wasn't on the board anymore, and who was very vocal in town, and who raked us over the coals because we put a whopping $50,000 in there to start, but that's all we had at the time, so,
Right.
yeah.
So, the free cash that was certified July 1st of 15 was $2,921,207. The amount that was certified July 1st, 2016 was $3,597,035, and the amount that was certified July 1st, 2017 was $4,570,217. So as we've improved our processes, fine-tuned, made savings elsewhere, things have turned back to the general fund. As well as you know, I'm conservative with our estimates on different things. So we had done the meals tax implementation, we are doing the ambulance billing, like all of those kinds of things, and they also will contribute to this.
I just have one more quick question. So just kind of, if you're able to, benchmarking us, you know, you said we're in pretty good standings considering our kind of plan here. So having $5 million in a fund that has a liability of $37 million, where does that put us amongst, you know, kind of other municipalities? Do you have any kind of idea?
I don't know right
Tell you,
now.
there's only two in the entire Commonwealth
Yeah.
that are fully funded.
I thought there was
fully
one.
funded.
Is it 2 now?
It's 2 now. They reached it, I think it was this past year.
What else?
Um,
I can't remember.
Do
I can't
we have
remember
any
the second
sense of
one.
how, I mean, I know both those towns are extremely affluent, have massive tax base, huge assessed values, but
Right.
do we have any sense how they accomplish that? Like,
Yeah, just.
you know,
what
can we
just said.
reach out and ask for some best practices other than they have surplus of money and they're putting huge chunks in?
Some of them, I believe Wellesley was one of them, they started saving for it before it became a mandate that you have to disclose what your liability is and whatnot. So they did more advanced planning at saying, in the non-municipal world, you have to account for these liabilities. We should start accounting for them now. We should start planning for them now instead of because it's not required to pretend that they don't exist kind of thing. So they started a lot of that planning years before many of the others did. Compared to some of our local areas, we are matching or higher than the majority of our neighbors as to what we've already put away. Some of the larger cities, for instance, they are in really bad shape compared to some of the smaller communities. But still, compared to our neighbors, when I went to the last accounting kind of a workshop thing, we were all talking, and at the table that I sat at, I had more in our trust than anybody else. So
Okay.
I think
that's
that's a really
helpful.
good sign. You know, it's not
Yeah.
professional, like statistical analysis, but
No, that's all I'm looking for, just the general idea, so.
Out of curiosity, because you were saying adding an extra $1 million will make it, you know, obviously 5 million, and that's, you know, to me, 4 million is a significant amount. And I think some of our constituents or viewers and stuff might wonder the same thing. If you had extra money, doesn't it make sense to pay down some of our debt, like maybe long-term obligations and so forth, versus putting it into some type of an annuity? I'm just curious about what the pros and cons of, say, paying off hypothetically the fire truck or something of that nature.
Well, some of our debt, you can't pay off early because based on the terms of the bond, it's not callable yet. So some of them you're limited by that. There are some that possibly that you could do that, but your rate of return that you're expecting to get is higher than the amount that you would be saving in the interest. So that's why you would want to do that. We are currently planning for our debt, keeping our debt low by using in our regular operating budget, planning out for capital items like that, not just bonding every year, being very strategic about what we're bonding. So that helps to keep our debt low, but then there is still that extra. So rather than it just sit in an account and collect a little bit of interest, we can actually make it work for us and to be planning our long-range goals, which I don't think have really been as much of a focus in this community other than the past few years that started to plan for that long term, not just the next couple of years.
I know we're talking about, on the planning side, about having our master plan. Do we have enough money for that if we had, or is it smarter to put $750,000 in there and keep $250,000 on the back burner? Just throw it out there.
Actually, the master plan, some of that will be done by the PVPC, so there will be funding there. Also, to address your thought about paying off bonding, it's always a good philosophy that the rating agencies look at, that you maintain a certain level of debt, not go up and down, not pay everything off and have no debt. It is better, almost like it is with your household, to have a debt that you show that you're planning constantly, not spiking it way up for something and then paying it all off. So it's a better philosophy all around to continue to have some of that.
Realistically, the biggest liability that we have is OPEB, correct?
That's the biggest one.
Yes,
I mean-
pension is next, but yes. And the bond rating agencies do look at our OPEB trust and consider that as part of your reserve, so it's a good thing for our bond rating, whereas paying off the debt really is not going to have the same impact on our ratings, which therefore then impacts our interest and all the other aspects that we have.
But to have an unaddressed liability or a minimally addressed liability is not as good for us. So.
If I heard you correctly, if we vote this $1 million that we move, it's still accessible to the town in the event that free cash, that 1.2, let's say it goes up to 1.4, if something catastrophic happens and we need the funds, we could...
You can access the 1.4 of the free cash, yes. But once we put it in the OPEB trust, we can only access it in order to pay OPEB kinds of liabilities.
Okay.
So yes, you could offset one of those expenses. I wouldn't recommend it for this early in because you haven't really
Right.
given the trust a chance to earn a lot of money, but yes, you can do it only for those purposes. It restricts therefore the purpose that you can use it for, but yes, you could.
So we previously pulled our free cash down to that neighborhood of about 1.2.
We've pulled our
Do it
free
every
cash
year.
down lower than that.
Okay, so we've gone lower, and obviously you've done some forecasting on what
Yes.
you see coming up, what you see coming in,
Yes.
and you feel that
comfortable with
we're
it?
comfortable with
Yes,
the 1.2
absolutely.
balance until
Fair
we
enough.
find out. Then that number could be north of that once October comes.
Yes.
And then, if I understand the process that I'm used to, so we haven't talked about this actuarial piece, but once the actuary gets involved, at that point, they will give us a projected amount every year saying, here's the amount you should pay this year to get it paid off in the long term.
Yeah,
So-
here, if you do this is how you reach this
Right.
goal. If you want this
So-
goal,
And
these
they'll
are the
actually
kinds of
craft
minimum-
the
It gives
action
you a
plan.
little bit more
They
guidance.
will with our input.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
And-
with our,
yeah.
absolutely.
Very good.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve a request to fund $1 million for free cash to the OPEB trust.
So second.
Moved and seconded, further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Now we go back, I'll entertain a motion to go back to our public hearing.
Go to the public.
Oh, all right, let's go. D6,
Up, down.
approve the beginning balance of the Council on Aging revolving fund of 61,932.25 as June 30th, 2017 to be used by the Council on Aging for general Council on Aging programs, events, or activities. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the beginning balance of the Council on Aging revolving.
Discussion? My question is, we've already voted to approve a limit in spending from that fund in our last meeting of $12,195. So what's the purpose of this?
So the purpose of this is, as mentioned previously, when I went through the revolving accounts and worked with the different departments on their revolving accounts, that this revolving account had other things in there, some grants, donations, things like that that didn't belong. So we pulled out what we could discern. We went back a certain period of time, but we weren't going to go back 6 years. It wasn't prudent to spend that kind of time and resources to try to go back that many years to identify it specifically. So what this is, we spoke to the DOR, and it is to say that beginning balance, we want to be able to say, yes, that we can use it all for the purposes of the Council on Aging revolving account. Regardless as to how it was actually originally created in there, that this is to just allow that. So it does not extend the limit of the spending or anything like that, but there are some expenses that they would like to pay for this year related to senior citizen dinners and volunteer dinner, things like that, that would essentially dip into that beginning balance. So the state recommended that the council approve the purpose of that beginning balance to allow us to use that. It still stays within our total authorization. It's not increasing any of that, and it falls right in line with what the council had approved at the last meeting as to the purposes for fiscal 19, and is in line with what the bylaw is requesting as well.
So does that increase the spending limit?
No, it does not.
Okay. And my other question is, we've never done this before.
Correct.
Why are we setting a precedent, and for, what purpose is this necessary at this time?
So as I mentioned, part of the cleanup that I was doing, it going through each of the revolving funds as part of the modernization bill, making sure that we are meeting all of the requirements. I did the cleanup for there, discovered that there were things that shouldn't be in there. We went to the state and asked DOR as to how to best address this, rather than take a guess and just say, okay, I'm going to arbitrarily assign that 61,000 to different things. We thought that it was best to leave it in the Council on Aging revolving fund, where it would benefit the Council on Aging, because it was generated due to Council on Aging activities. Which specific activities, we aren't clear, and it's just not worth the time and resources to go back that many years in order to discern that. The town council has the authority to vote to assign a purpose to that beginning balance. So that's what we're asking, is just to clarify, make sure that therefore we are following all of the rules and restrictions, and be able to use that to put on these senior dinners that are happening once a month. Is the primary thing that they have right now, but there would be other things along similar lines.
Well, I'm
in the
sure that's
future.
already been part of Caroline's budget process.
Carolyn is here if you have
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah, and I'm sure that when you set the limit of 12,195, that's all included in there already. So, again, my question is, this is a precedent-setting move. We've never
It's not, all we're
voted
doing is establishing the beginning balance of the
for it.
account.
We've never done that before.
But it's
Because we
a
just
good thing
cleaned
to
up the
do at some point,
information, and
because,
that's why it's being done.
yeah.
Because we never cleaned up that account.
Well, that makes sense, but we're only doing it for this one account and not the other accounts?
No, correct. So the revolving account that was established for fiscal 18 for the Council on Aging said fitness room memberships. It said 3 specific things. It did not say all of the general kinds of programmings. So the senior dinners and the volunteer dinner do not fall within those 3. So it's to clarify that it should be permitted, because that is what the whole fund was, the purpose was for.
Yeah.
And when we crafted the language last year for the revolving fund, it was a brand new thing. We weren't thinking of all the possibilities of growing those programs.
So it's not in the approved usage now?
No, that's
So
why
you're
we're
adding
asking.
an approved use for this, for these
Correct.
funds?
For fiscal 18. It's just for fiscal 18 because that language is already included for fiscal 19 and forward in the bylaw.
Going back to my initial question,
Yeah.
so this is not being addressed, all the other funds are not being addressed?
The other funds didn't have any questionable beginning balances. All the other funds, there are only two, the beginning balances we could identify with the exact reasoning for how they were created.
Okay.
So essentially, since this is part of trying to just come up to speed with all of the pieces of the Mass municipal finance law, once we do this, then we should be, our house is in order, in other words. Okay.
Yes, that is correct.
And it conforms with the bylaw.
Correct.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve the beginning balance of the Council on Aging revolving fund, $61,932.25 as of June 30, 17, to be used by the Council on Aging for general Council on Aging programs, events, or activities.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And we have a motion to approve a requested fund a prior bill for $47.62 from free cash.
I got a big problem with it.
I do too.
I say we just pass the hat.
It was okay, but
Why is this on here?
Because they found a
Department head
bill.
was coming to
It's a prior
explain.
year bill, so you have to.
Because it came in after the fiscal year closes.
So
Year, so you have to
Mass
approve it in the
Mass
current
General Law
Right, end of
prohibits
which
me from
fiscal
paying
year?
any prior year bills unless they were previously encumbered. This dollar amount was not previously encumbered, therefore I am prohibited from Mass General Law for paying it without appropriation.
and it's 2 years old, actually.
Yes,
What
it is.
department is this from?
Yeah, what bill is this?
IT.
Who didn't pay, Ryan didn't pay a $47 bill
62
for
cents?
2 years?
So,
No, they didn't send the bill.
what specifically happened is that it
It's
was.
okay, sir. It's okay. It's okay.
Teasing.
We got $65 worth of explanation for a $47
If you want me to explain it or show you what happened, I can
I'll
easily
entertain a
explain
motion to
it.
approve the requested fund the prior year bill.
So moved.
$47.60.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Now we'll go back to our public hearing, 9E.
Thanks, Al.
You're welcome.
The reason for this public hearing is to read for the first time a new proposed general bylaw to address local acceptance that would defer excise tax to all members of the military on active service outside the Commonwealth and for the next 180 days after service in accordance with Mass General Law 68, Section 9. Council members are O'Connor, Federici, Ford, Manley, Henderson, Helen Kane. I'll open the hearing at this time and ask the clerk to read the notice into the record.
East Long Meadow Town Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, June 12, 2018, at 7:10 PM in the meeting room at the Council on Aging located at 328 North Main Street to address the proposed local acceptance of Mass General Law, Chapter 60A, Section 9, that would defer excise taxes while that member of the military is on active duty outside the Commonwealth and for the next 100 days after that service. Information related to this proposed bylaw is on file with the town clerk and available for review by the public. For the council, Thomas Florence, clerk of the council.
Next time, to accept the provisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 68, Section 9, and the East Long Meadow Town General Bylaws, Chapter 68, deferral of excise tax due by Massachusetts National Guard members and reservists on active duty and dependents. Section 9, deferral of excise tax due by Massachusetts National Guard members and reserves on active duty and dependents in any city or town except in the provisions of this section, notwithstanding any other provision of this chapter. To the contrary, any excise tax due under this chapter by a member of the Massachusetts National Guard or reservist or dependent of a member of the Massachusetts National Guard or reservist shall be deferred while that member is on active service outside the Commonwealth and for a period of up to 180 days after completion of that service. No interest or penalty shall be assessed for any period before the expiration of 180 days. So at that point, we're going to do a second reading on the next meeting. So what time are we doing?
6:55.
Very good.
Because you
We
read
have
so
to vote.
fast.
6:55.
We have to vote to
So I'm going to entertain a motion to continue the public hearing to June 26th at 6:55 PM.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
Executive session?
Is there any executive session tonight?
we cannot have we don't have executive session, right?
That's a shame. We never do.
No, boom, boom.
Not a blue.
Okay, I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No.